Hey, it's Dr. Phil here talking to you about the real story. I want to talk to you about this Disney movie that's out right now.
Snow White, that's the live action remake. It hit $200 million at the box office, which sounds great, but it reportedly cost more than $250 million to make.
I'm focusing on the DEI bandwagon. Now, when we talk about DEI, we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, I'll discuss what that means in a few minutes here, but the movie is Disney's Snow White.
And I just want to be the fairest of them all.
Now, I guess there's a lesson here, Disney's painful lesson: go woke if you want to go broke. Because Disney's new Snow White movie is facing massive backlash. Why? They changed the whole story. They replaced the 7 dwarfs with CGI. The Snow White star, Rachel Zegler, refused to sing "Someday My Prince Will Come" because it was weird that the movie focused on Snow White's love story with a guy who stalks her. This isn't a stalker story. This is a fairy tale. She's now called Snow White not because of her skin, but because she supposedly survived a snowstorm as a child. Well, I'm sorry, but that changes the whole premise of this story from the 1800s. It succeeded because it was a wonderful fairy tale. But Disney proves how DEI causes a domino effect of bad decisions. Now they're stuck with this movie where they distorted the story, everything that made this a great success. It's a fairy tale. What is the issue? So Snow White 2025 is being called a $270 million disaster because instead of making a classic movie and re-upping it with new technology and making it bright and fun to watch, they're trying to please everybody. And so they're stuck with this now, and they've heard America say, we're not offended by that. We don't care about that. We just want to go to the movies with our daughters and watch this fun movie. And it's not just Disney. Other campaigns that backfired, you all know about Bud Light and Dylan Mulvaney partnership, cost Bud Light $1.4 billion in sales. Newsweek said it cost Budweiser $4 billion in stock value. Starbucks' Race Together campaign encouraged baristas to start conversations about race with customers. They just wanted a $10 cup of coffee. Dolce & Gabbana's DG Loves China ad showed a Chinese woman eating pizza with chopsticks. Somebody sat down and got paid for that. Why not just eat pizza? I mean, come on. Some companies scaling back DEI because of consumer backlash: Amazon, the Meta platforms, Facebook and Instagram, McDonald's, Ford Motor Company, John Deere, Lowe's, Nissan, Polaris, Walmart, Boeing, Toyota. The question we have to ask ourselves is, how did we let this happen? How did we let this happen? And I'm telling you, we let it happen because of what I call this tyranny of the fringe. You get some radical fringe activists who start threatening people that if you don't go along with what we're saying, we're going to boycott you, we're going to call you haters, we're going to call you phobics, we're going to single you out. Think about it: diversity, equity, inclusion. Do we want diversity? Of course. We want diversity of ideas. It doesn't necessarily mean skin color or race or ethnic origin. And equity is not equality. They start talking about having the same outcome, not the same opportunity, the same outcome. And inclusion. Everybody wants to be included. I get that. But at what cost? At what price? And so we start distorting reality. That doesn't make sense. Now, here's the deal. People are starting to sue these companies for reverse discrimination. And people said, well, you can't be discriminated against unless you're a minority. That's not true. If you are making decisions based on other than talent, other than contribution, other than skill, if you're making decisions based on race, that's racism. If you're making decisions based on ethnicity or the color of skin instead of ability, that's racism. The Supreme Court has ruled on this. You've seen it time and again where somebody says, look, I'm a white 18-year-old guy trying to get into college and I can't get in because they're giving it to somebody based on the color of their skin or their ethnic origin. And if they're having to fill a quota, did they lower the standards in order to fill that quota? And if they did, that's not fair to the candidate, and it's not fair to the people that have studied hard to try to get in. You don't want someone in any role that interacts with your life where they lowered the standards. You don't want a fireman who didn't have to meet the standards. You don't want an airline pilot that didn't have to meet the standards. You don't want a surgeon that didn't have to meet the standards because they had to fill some quota. Do we have equal opportunity for everybody in this country? We absolutely do not. And what we need to do is work towards that. We have children in the inner city who have crummy schools. They have schools where the windows are falling out, the blackboards are falling off the wall. They don't have whiteboards. They don't have good Wi-Fi. They don't have computers to work with. And if we're going to fix the problem of equal opportunity, we need to fix it starting right there in pre-K. If we're going to fix this, we can make a huge dent in this in one generation. We can go back and make sure that those children who are just as smart as the children in the suburbs have the same opportunities to learn as the kids do in other parts of the community. Why don't they? Because the values of that real estate are not as high as they are in other areas, so the tax base is lower, so the school has less money to work with. If we want to fix this, we need to support those schools. We need to make sure they have the same facilities, the same computers, the same teachers, the same opportunities that the other schools have. They won't need to lower the standards to give them a chance. They will show up, they're just as smart as anybody else, and they will do the job. I can't tell you how many doctor friends I have that are in an ethnic group that have to live with the stigma of somebody saying, oh, so you're a doctor, you must have gotten in on some kind of special program or something. And they're like, hell, I did. I worked my tail off to get here, and now everybody looks at me like I'm some kind of special case. We need to learn how to fix this problem, and it's not through DEI. And people are now throwing that out. This society is a meritocracy. We pay for performance, we pay for talent, we pay for contribution. That's what we need to be focused on. And DEI was a bad idea. It never worked. It doesn't work today. And you can't use it in college admissions, but they're still trying to worm their way around it. Don't do that. We need to go back to those schools and give those children a fair chance. Give them the opportunities that the other kids have, and this problem will fix itself. You don't have to wait a whole generation. You can go start fixing it right now in middle schools and high schools. Those kids will close the gap, and you won't have to lower the standards. If they need tutors to close the gap, get them. Spend the money there. Don't lower the standards. DEI doesn't work. But investing in those children in the inner cities, investing in those children that are minorities and didn't get the fair chance, invest in them now. It will pay off soon. You won't have to wait 4 or 5 generations. I promise you they're worth it. This country needs it. That's where to put the money, not in some social program that is made up by some people sitting in the fringe. Invest in the kids. They'll make you glad you did. And that's the real story. Wherever you're getting the real story, make sure you subscribe and follow. I'll see you tomorrow. You know, coming home and slipping into my Cozy Earth pajamas and crawling into bed with their ridiculously soft sheets has transformed my nights into the most relaxing part of my day, all because of Cozy Earth. The Cozy Earth sheets are breathable, so I sleep cooler, and the fabrics are durable. If you haven't tried Cozy Earth yet, you're missing out on what feels like a 5-star hotel at home. With a 100-night sleep trial and a 10-year warranty, you've got absolutely nothing to lose. Luxury is in reach. Visit CozyEarth.com and use my code PHIL for up to 40% off sheets, towels, pajamas, and more. If you get a post-purchase survey, tell them you heard about Cozy Earth from the Dr. Phil podcast. Sanctuary awaits at Cozy Earth.